All right, greetings everyone, and welcome to our mid-season coaches and officials collaboration for the spring, halfway through the season. Mike Luke, who represents the Iowa Referee Committee and works with Todd on the boys' side, is going to be the basic presenter, and then I will carry on Jim Albertson with the follow-up with another presentation. Joining us is Todd and Gary Ross. So if we have any administrative questions, we'll defer to them. But other than that, if you have any questions, please use the chat, fill in the question, and we'll try to answer them as we go. With that, our goals tonight are to give the coaches and the officials a chance to communicate with each other, not verbally, but as we have questions arise, we'll try to answer them for both sides. Try to get you all on the same page as regards to the areas that we're going to cover tonight. We'll answer questions. If you have any concerns, please bring them up. We may not be able to answer them right away, but we will definitely get answers for you. We are going to go through the top concerns that have been brought to our attention. Time permitting, we'll add a few extras. And as I say, we have both boys and girls representation here to answer questions. As you can see by our agenda, we've done the introductions. We'll go through some video review. Then we'll open it up for questions and concern. And then as time permits, we will go through a final section covering handling or handball, as most people refer to. There have been some very major changes applying across not only internationally, but here in the United States. It's how handling is now to be trained and used. And based on what we're going to tell you, it's going to be moved down from a lot of confusion to hopefully some very clear and simple steps used. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Mike, and he will start the presentation.
Good evening. The first couple clips, all of these clips that we're going to see tonight, except for the handling presentation, are all clips from games already this year. So first, I am going to, as you can tell from the title, it is a head injury, and I'm just going to let this play out. At this point, I would like to point out head injuries and referees. We're not doctors, we're not trainers, we're not even, I don't care what your profession is. On the soccer field, we are referees. Please do not hold trainers for head injuries. This player clearly is holding his head, clearly goes down, and this referee, out of habit, chose to delay the AR. We absolutely, as I continue, and then he's going over properly to check the player. But at this point, if it's a head injury, it's a safety concern. Let's let the professionals handle this. Okay. That one's kind of cut and dried. I don't think there's going to be any questions on that one. All right. I'm really tired of talking about this. It used to be uniforms, now we moved on to shin guards. But I've had concerns from both coaches and referees, so it's made our presentation. Micro shin guards are not approved. They are not age appropriate. The NOSOA whatever seal is not on them. Safety of players. This is a high school sport. They are youth players. Safety matters. Coaches don't want to deal with this, players don't want to deal with this, and referees don't want to deal with this. The best time to deal with this is before the game. However, sometimes players will put these in, they'll come flying out, and you will go hand it to a player, and it's a half a size of a cell phone. At that time, it is improper equipment. The coach has earned a caution for the first time, then the player does for every incident after that. Referees, please don't go seeking this out, but if it is blatant, like what's on your pictures, you do need to deal with it. Please be as proactive as we can. All right. Cautioning protocol. Cautioning rules changed this year. We changed back to the Federation rule of after a caution, the player must be substituted until the next legal sub opportunity. Here are a couple of clips that have happened in Iowa that coaches have brought to our attention. Sorry for the sound. Didn't expect it. Okay. So this is towards the end of the game. There had been multiple warnings. The referee deemed that this was time wasting and gave a keeper a caution. The player was not required to substitute out. That is a wrong decision by the referee. It does not matter how much time's left. It does not matter if it's a goalie. It does not matter if the other team did it. If a yellow card is given, the player must be substituted out. But there's only 46 seconds left. I don't care. The rule says if you get a caution, you must be substituted out. Interesting enough, a coach brought this to my attention because he was confused because he was scouting 2 different games prior to his game, and he saw the referees do it differently. This is clear. Referees, we need to get this right. There is no wiggle room. If it's a yellow card, the player must be substituted for. If the team can play short, but the player may not come in until the next legal substitute opportunity for their own team. All right. So that was kind of minor. Didn't really change anything. However, this is not a very good video, but it has a very good point at the end. So I'm going to talk through this a little bit as it goes. So as we come into scene right here, this player is getting a caution. Okay. There was the caution given. Okay. Notice one more time, the player is not required to leave the field. Okay. This will speed up here in a second. Okay. So we have a corner kick for the same team. Everybody is going in. Sorry about the length. I could have maybe cut this clip a little bit better. The referee deems this as reckless. Caution to the same player that should have been on the sideline. Now received a second caution red card. The protocol was not followed. It absolutely changed the outcome of this game. We have to follow the rules that are given. At this time, are there any questions at all about the yellow card rule and the interpretation because it has changed? Okay, any yellow card is the player must be substituted out for. All right, these videos, yes.
Michael, and just to let you know from the boys' standpoint, when this situation occurred, because of a misapplication of the rule, even that young man still sat out the rest of that contest. But per the ejection rule, because of a misapplication, the IHSA, we did not hold him out for having to miss the next contest due to the fact that the rule was not properly followed. So just so officials and coaches that are on here too are clear that this is one of the unique situations where it's not necessarily an appeal, but there is the opportunity from our end. I can't speak, for Gary, but from the boys' end anyway, that this would be where a coach could say a misapplication of a rule happened and the suspension for the next game did not occur. So.
Great, thank you. These next videos for discussions, here in Central Iowa, this first one has been discussed a lot, but I want to share it with everybody in the state. There's about 3 or 4 things that could have gone different in this play. I would like to point out to you that the clock, there is 1:17 left in the game. It is a 2-1 game. I'm going to play it for now. That was 2 red cards, 1 from each player. Let's see if I can. Drop ball to the keeper. Oh, but wait, there's more. Still want to see one more thing that's going to happen on this video. I'll go back and kind of play through this a little bit faster. However, I want to point one more thing out. This is the opposing coach who benches over here. He went all the way past the home coach to dissent about this call. So I would like to talk about this in just little segments here. Right here, trying to right there, I want that foul called. I'm not even trying to say an opinion. I believe we should call more fouls. I believe when things get out of control, we need to have more fouls called. If there was contact, even though he was trying to delay time, if there was contact, call the foul. Number 2, do we know the clarifications for what a red card is? Was there striking or was there pushing in the chest? Okay. It's an opinion question. So to Todd's point earlier, this is not going to get overturned because in the opinion of the referee, the kids were attempting to strike. I ask you, referees, is pushing at the shoulders the same as striking? Okay. The referee deemed it was striking or attempting to strike. Fine. I will give the referee a lot of credit here. The red cards were given in a very methodical, calm way, and the players accepted it. Next. Let me play a little bit of this. This is also an opinion question. Did the player impede the goalie releasing the ball? Because in high school, that's what it says. Does the player impede the goalie releasing the ball? He is clearly tracking him. Okay. I'm not sure why the goalie punted it. That's a different conversation. But in my opinion, the player clearly impeded. That, in my opinion, should have been an unsporting action, which would have been a caution. Okay. And then the final discussion, I believe, that needs to be had here is the coach. If the coach comes this far out of the coaching area to dissent a call, not to break up a fight, not to do something like that, but to dissent a call, in my opinion, this has to be a red card. Now, I've had a conversation with the coach, and he is incredibly professional. He lost his moment there. He says, well, what would have you done? And this is a side conversation. I probably shouldn't tell all my secrets. If I was him, I would have stood right here, right where my partner is, and I would have waited for the referee to come give me my yellow card, and then I would have talked to him. Okay, there's a way to earn a yellow card, and then there's a way to earn a red card. This coach going all the way down here is got to be a red card. Referees, we talked about this last year at this exact meeting. We need to draw a line in the sand for coaches. Coaches absolutely adjust. Okay, there's coaches that 3 years ago that caused Todd and Gary a lot of problems, and they have learned where the line is, and now they maybe earn a caution on purpose. Okay, but they know where the line is. If we don't set a line, coaches will not learn where the line is. I am not saying you can't walk him back, even if you think you messed up the thing, and give him a generous yellow card here. To me, it's a red. But if you want to say, hey, my gut feeling, I messed up, I'm going to go give you a yellow card, but please do something. We cannot let this public dissent go on. Okay, remember, they are role models for their student athletes in theory. All right, any questions coming in on this? I will say Central Iowa, we have talked about that a lot. It happened early in the season, so we had a lot of time to talk about it. I can't see the chat, so gentlemen, are we okay?
We are okay. We only had one question, and that was in regards to the first video about if we play short, you still need a goalkeeper. The answer is yes. You designate a field player to be the goalkeeper for the last 47 seconds, and then you proceed from there.
Okay.
All yours, Mike.
Next, oh yeah. Okay, I'll try to go a little bit fast. It's a much shorter clip. You see the tackle coming here? Referees, how are we deciding if it is a foul, if it's reckless, or if it is excessive? Okay, mode of contact, speed, distance, where was the contact made? Oops. There, that to me, the player is lunging from far distance. Oh man, I fail. That is a studded contact. Guys, I have that as excessive. I have this as a red card. I will give the referee credit here. Nobody reacts. Nobody is asking for this to be a red card. Okay, but I have straight-legged studs from distance and a lunge. I have that as excessive. All right. But like I said, none of the players reacted. Okay, this one I know it's really small video. The next two videos are the same feed. we are going to concentrate on the coach. Little background on this game. AR1 is a first-year referee. There was a call. I watched it about 4 or 5 times before I determined who was right, the AR or the coach. If it's that close, doesn't even matter if it's not that close. This action needs to be sanctioned. Okay? At the college level, it is absolutely told to us that's a red card. I 100% agree. I'm probably going with a red card for a public display of kicking or throwing something. I can justify a caution. It's a
Okay,
public
Mike, yeah,
display.
could you,
I can justify a caution. He stayed in his technical area. There was no profanity in the background. There was nothing there. But something needs to be done. To our
And
Go ahead.
Michael, I know if they can see too, sorry, I just want to know, he had you maybe not able to see it, and Jim, maybe you're going to share that, but he had a clipboard in his hand that he's grabbing, that he gets from that player, and he throws that clipboard down on the ground. So that's when you're talking about throwing something down the ground, Michael. So I just wanted to clarify that for everybody on here, that he is throwing something down on the ground. So I apologize, but want to let you know that. So thanks,
Good.
Michael.
no, thank you.
Referees, this falls on you. It certainly doesn't fall on an AR. Maybe the AR would have a little bit more confidence and want to call you over, but this falls on you. That's public. That is going after. So I would like the center referees to definitely take control and not wait for the AR to say that coach needs to go. Later in this game, not very far later, we're watching here. All right, guys, unacceptable. But I'm in my technical area. Maybe he walks with you a little bit, but he cannot be visibly throwing his arms up, following you, and still not letting the play go. Coaches need to let the play go. Okay? In and of itself, I have this as a caution. Okay? I don't know if profanity is being used, or if it continues, then I'm at a red. We have to remind the coaches that they are role models. Once again, this is public enough. The center referee needs to take action. Any comments, gentlemen?
Yeah, I mean, it's, we visited with the respective school on this situation. The athletic director took control of things with his coach, but he agreed also that the center here, if he would have taken care of this with a card, that things would have been resolved earlier with this. So to be proactive with the situation instead of doing, with nothing being called here at all, even the athletic director at this respective school said that this should have been, this easily was definitely a yellow card. So
Okay. All right. Okay, just, are they regular fouls? Are they Are they DOGSO? It was last year's emphasis. We continue to improve as a referee crew, so here are a couple more clips. The play will be going down towards my cursor. Okay, so we heard the whistle. So there's a foul that was recognized. Okay, now we need to determine if it is, let's go to the extreme. Is it DOGSO? I do not have DOGSO. I don't have direction. I have down the line, not towards the goal, and I don't have defenders. So I don't have DOGSO. So that leaves, am I between a foul or am I in SPA? For those of you learning what SPA is stopping a promising attack. Okay. So when I look at this, I see it's at speed. There's full speed and there's a lot of space. It's at speed. Their back isn't to the goal. It's at lots of space at speed. You could argue there's no real help here, but I have this as spa. Interesting enough, the same foul and the same two girls. It happened earlier and the referee deemed it wasn't a foul. And I can't tell from up here. So this was going on, but I do have this as spa, certainly not Dogso. The referee could have sold this by being in a better angle or proximity. Okay. All right. The ball is going towards my cursor. Black is attacking. Sorry, Todd. I thought I did get rid of the volume. Obviously, I did not. All right. Whistle's blown, so there's certainly a foul. Spa or Dogso. I have this. White's the last defender. Directions at goal. Clearly an opportunity to score. I have this as Dogso. This was a two-man crew. I've talked to them. They took a snapshot like we were asked to in training. Take a snapshot of the play, replay it in your head, decide, go through their criteria, make sure it is what you think it is. The referees did that. However, they switched the colors. They saw these three players and they processed it as defenders, which would make it not Dogso. However, this was a missed Dogso opportunity. Referees, I want us to stop the game. I want us to have a conversation. We have stopped clock. Let's get these things right. I don't care if it's 2-man or 3-man. Let's stop. Let's have a conversation. Even if we end up being wrong, let's get on the same page before we make a possible game-changing decision.
Mike, can I interject here?
Absolutely.
All right, just kind of going back through what is denying a goal scoring opportunity, those 4 items that Mike talked about: distance between the offense and the goal, general direction of play, which is going forward towards the goal, likelihood of keeping or gaining control of the ball. He was right there to get it. And finally, location and number of defenders. And those are the 4 items you've got to go through when you think about this. And if all 4 of those are there, then that is a Dogso. If there is only 1, 2, or 3, it is not a Dogso. You then can implement SPA.
Thanks, Jim. All right. Okay, these next 2, we could probably spend 2 hours on it. We're not going to. There are calls, and I hope I have coaches on here, or I certainly hope I have coaches watch this. There are calls that definitely fall in the opinion of the referee. We have a couple close calls here that I would just like to discuss, things that should be going through the crew's mind. Okay. This first one, we are looking to see if this is going to be a deflected or a play on the ball in determining if a player is offside. Uh, for the coaches, oh, by the way, I should point this out to everybody. Half these clips were sent in by coaches and half of these were sent in by referees asking me or other mentors if they got the calls right. So everyone is wanting to improve, which I appreciate on both sides. Okay, so I can argue both sides of this argument. Okay. So, does the defender have time to react to the ball? I would argue, yeah, it's not a direct shot. Okay. Yeah, he has time. He has space. There is no white immediately in his radius. Okay. So I can argue that. So I can argue that this is going to be a play on the ball. However, I can also argue that this player misplayed this so much that he is now off balance and he is doing a last second ditch effort to redirect the ball. Well, a last second ditch effort is no longer a play on the ball, it is now a deflection. Okay. So I can argue this both ways. Referees, how do we deal with this? No comms, no nothing. If the ball ends up in the back of the net, what do we do? This is my recommendation. AR, keep your flag down. If it ends in a corner kick or a goal, you stand or you get the referee's attention to then have a conversation. We could continue to break this down, and maybe people that are above my referee skill could go ahead and give me a definitive answer, but I was unable to come up with a definitive answer on this particular play. Like I said, we could go quite a while on this one. Jim or anybody, do we want to climb in? Those are the things I want to think about though. Did I have time and space to play it? Or is it a last second or another defender made me deflect it?
Deflection is pretty easy to look at from the standpoint of are you just making a wild gesture? You jump up in the air, your body's turned, and the ball is close to you. Normally deliberate, you've had time to plant your feet, had time to watch the ball move in the direction if it's coming towards you. And then finally, you have the time to play it. If it scurries off your foot because you miskicked it, that is not a deflection. That's just you misplayed the ball.
All right. So there's going to be close calls, guys. We try to go through the protocol and then we move on. All right. Okay. I have an opinion of the referee. I'm just going to play it. I'm not going to give you the answer yet. Watch after the goal. Sorry. Is this taunting? I don't know if I can answer this. I'm not in the game. I'm not hearing things. I will do what I did on the last clip and I will play both sides on this. I am a little bit interested in the association's answer. Thanks, guy. I'm sorry for putting you on the spot. For taunting, I have the balls over here. Why did the forward run to where he ran? Okay. So, did he run to where he was because that's where the goalie is, meaning that his action is directed at a player, which could be taunting. I could also argue the fact there were no major gestures. There was no, it wasn't prolonged. The goalie wasn't offended. I could argue that this is unsporting. It's certainly unsporting or taunting. Just to remind you, the difference in high school, to make sure we get this right, taunting is a red card. Unsporting is a caution. I can argue both ways. Once again, this is a clip the referee asked, did I get it right? And I'm telling you, there's two sides to this story. So I'm going to let other people respond.
Mike, if we go by the rule book, basically taunting is the use of word or action to incite or degrade an opposing player, coach, referee, or other individual. And of course, the Federation does not approve of any form of taunting, which is intended to design to embarrass, ridicule, or demean others under any circumstance, including on the basis of, we go on to race, religion, etc. Not that issue here. But based upon how he went in, what he did, if you said taunting, you would be correct under the written rule. If you chose to take what Mike was talking about and look at it as unsporting behavior and issue a caution, I think we would all back you up either way. It's a matter of, since you are there, you're the one making a judgment call. We know what taunting is if we start waving our hands, get in somebody's face, and start making sounds, noises, verbiage, whatever. But since this looked more of a case of running in, stopping, looking at him when the ball wasn't there, if you did but one or the other, I think we would support your action.
Todd?
I would agree that, I mean, something needed to be called, and I can't recall, what the referee's decision here, if this was if he went straight red or if he went with a caution. But the most important thing is that something needed to be called. Again, a lot of it, as both Mike and Jim have alluded to, is, you need to gauge the temperature of the game and what has occurred so far with things. I mean, we've got, we played 38 minutes of the first half. It's a 0-0 game. I can't tell you. Like I said, to me, I mean, again, I'm older school. To me, that looked like a taunt. I mean, going up to him, there's no need or excuse for that. So like I said, I could support that if that's what the official said to me, as I gave him the red card. I would ask the question, why did he do what he did there? What was the point of that? I mean, celebrate the goal. You don't have to get into the face, celebrate the goal. But the most important thing is that something needed to be called, and it was. If we let this go, with absolutely no consequence for it, then that's what leads us to difficult situations. Like I said, it's your judgment, Gary and Jim and Michael and I trust your judgment on things, but we do have to, we've got to remember that the soccer pitch, as Mike has said before, the soccer pitch is, it's the educational part of activities here too. This is the classroom. This is the coach's classroom, just like the English room is, just like, like Michael's classroom is at at Des Moines North. This is the classroom. So there are things in the classroom that, that Michael doesn't allow, that there are consequences for. And that's what we need to remember, that we are not, World Cup, we're not FIFA, we are high school athletics. And I know things have probably changed a lot in the classroom in the last 16 years, but, if we continue to allow it to happen, then in the next game, when he does get the red card, now the coach is saying, wait a minute, 2 games ago, I didn't get anything, and now I did. And I would prefer to be on that side of things than the others. And I don't know, Gary, if you want to speak from your aspect, from the girls' union, but
I probably would be, if you're unsure at it, I think the caution and a conversation with him would be appropriate at that time. If it very much was obvious and noticeable and you'd sense it going on, then it would be appropriate with a red card. But I probably, if there's question, I would go with the yellow card and education at that point.
Great, thank you. All right, moving along. Any more questions before I hand this off to Jim? I can start monitoring the question and answers. Because we're definitely talking at you.
Right. No, I answered the questions
Perfect.
offline, and then I answered the other 2 online.
Okay. All right, Jim, it's
Okay, ready. Okay, before we
you.
get started, are there any other questions? Okay. All right, before we get started, are there any other questions anybody has to raise about what Mike had covered or anything we haven't covered that perhaps you'd like to make sure at least gets addressed. Okay. I'll give another second or two to make sure you're either raising your hand or going to the chat. All right, doesn't look like it. All right, so what do we have in front of us? We have in front of us two road signs. One looks all curlicue and heading in a direction that is taking sidebar turns and twists. The other one is a straight on look. And what we're trying to do is look at the handball, which in the past, we'll go back to originally where we started with handball, which is many years ago. It was very clear and clean. If it hit the hand, it wasn't a handball. If the person raised their hand, moved it, and made the ball go someplace, we had handball. And since that time, they have changed the application to be very confusing. So last year, it was decided that for the betterment of the sport and to make it far simpler and more clear to get a straight line direction for handling, that following would apply. Next slide, Mike. All right. So for the purposes of determining handball offenses, we look at number one, the upper boundary of the arm, and if it's in line with the bottom of the armpit. So anything in the green area, which is pretty much across, if you looked at, if you had a short sleeve jersey on, that pretty much is where you could look at as no handball. Anything below that would be a handball. So this is the first determination you want to look at as to what does it mean when we use our hand versus no handball. So anything on the shoulder, anything a little bit below it, no handball. Anything beyond that point, handball. That's the first thing we look at. Next slide, sir. All right, there are three concepts for handling. One, deliberately touches the ball with their hand or arm. Two, the hand arm made their body unnaturally bigger. Three, scores in the opponent's goal. So those are the three concepts for handling. So what we have to look at for considerations are, do we understand football? Do we understand soccer? Do we understand what a natural position or movement is? And we have arms close to the body, and is it justifiable? Any additional oddball movements with the arms going out, coming up, swinging, dropping down, that are not natural? Did they take a risk, try to make the body unnaturally bigger? You will notice that people extend their arms, they take their arms away from their body, that makes it bigger. And as an attacker, a handball concept, did they score directly and immediately by punching the ball into the goal, swinging their arm, etc.? And there are some potential exceptions we talk about. A self block and a teammate. Okay. Next slide, sir. And I think this is what we look at. These three items are not a handball. Hand close to the body or on the body. You're not making the body bigger. They're keeping it as tight and compressed as they can. Is the hand in what we call a justifiable position when sliding? You can't slide without putting your arm down to gain yourself balance. And if the ball hits you as you were doing that, that's not handling, because you are using your arm for the purposes of maintaining a proper balance going into a slide. Also, a ball coming from your head or feet hitting your arm is not handling.
As I put up the contact information for everybody. Guys, I'm going to pass it off to Gary, Todd, Jim, anyone else wants to talk as we're waiting for questions.
Yes, I'd just like to remind everybody that we're halfway through the season. We're now within 3 weeks of postseason play coming out. Make sure that you do go out to Dragonfly and either block the dates that you're not available, either for the boys or the girls, That's pretty much weeks of May the 19th through the 30th. There are sub-state and regional games going on the 19th, 20th, 21st, 23rd, 27th, 28th, 29th, and 30th. Who are wishing not to have postseason assignments. You have things going on that will require you to be elsewhere. Whatever the reason, please mark those dates. It's very frustrating if you haven't done so. We go out, think you're eligible for an assignment. We assign you, and then the next thing we find out, you said, "Oh, I didn't block it because." Well, please do us a favor. It makes it a lot easier when we have that many games to assign, and there's only so many of you, and we would appreciate it if you do that.
I'm
just
gonna
wanted
hop
to
in.
mention to everybody here
If you do this in
that
any other, yeah,
I just
do it
don't
in
know
any-
if, go ahead, Jim.
yeah, if you do it in any other assigning system, we won't know. They don't talk to each other. Strictly Dragonfly. So make sure you do go in and block the dates you do not wish to work. And that also includes the state tournament. Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that,
Gary?
not sure if you've seen it or not, but beginning this next year, for our joint sports, there'll be one registration fee on Dragonfly. So you won't have to register for soccer with the girls and register with the boys. It'll be one, registration fee. So one little change upcoming for this next year.
I'm gonna hop in before Todd to answer a question, then Todd, I'll let you finish up here. A question on head injury. Does it get reported to the state association, which informs the next referee crew? That is no. It is the responsibility of the school for the safety of their own players at that point. And then I don't have any more questions, so I'll pass it off for Todd for any last statements.
Yeah, and just following up on Michael's comment there, the tough part might be is, if you're officiating in a classic or a tournament and you have the second game of the and you don't know if the young man in the first game maybe was asked to leave the game, and the athletic trainer runs him through the process and finds out that he's not did not have a concussion, then that, the officials, I don't know if you see each other or exchange it or give it to, give it back to that respective school. There is no fancy form that we have. They could write it on the back of a napkin or whatever that shows that part of things. So yeah, just echo that. The postseason dates, in the rules meeting we had at the beginning of the season, I think they were in our rules meeting. I think they're both also on both of our websites too. I think Gary's listed the postseason dates under soccer on the girls union, and I think under soccer, maybe under officials, on our website, we have those dates that the postseason takes place. So if you need to find those, you can find it a couple different ways, and we should be able to get the rules meeting now up and put it as a PDF so you can go through the slides there as well too. But again, just to repeat what Jim said, it's Dragonfly and Dragonfly only. So, and please do not, if you already have a game on one of those nights, our expectation, both Jim and myself, is that you honor your regular season contest. So don't leave it open, even though you have a game, and then try and talk to your assigner and say, hey, let me out of my regular season game because Jim or Todd has contracted me for a postseason game. So please don't leave that open. All that does is cause some angst amongst your assigners and some frustration. So if you can't work for me on the 19th because you've already got a game, I'll get your game on the 20th. I usually do not use, I think we have enough officials where I don't have to use them for both of those nights. Those are a couple of our smaller nights, but please respect your contracts that you've already gotten from your Senate. Those regular season games are just as important as the postseason games. So, honor those games. You don't offend me or Jim because you blocked that date out. We would rather know ahead of time than assign it to you and then have to scramble to try and find a game back, because we're trying to find 3 officials for all of those contests. So, but that's really the main thing there with that. Like I said, we're, releasing brackets here in the next couple weeks, both Gary and I are. So we are right around the corner here with things. And so excited about the postseason. Gary's excited about, we're excited for the girls of their new venue, being at Iowa State on the recreation campus there with their games for the state tournament. From our standpoint, from the boys, those quarterfinal round games that we have for the state tournament, if you check your postseason manual, will be played around the state, those quarterfinal round games, and then just the semifinals and the finals will be held at MediaCom. So we do have that schedule on our website, and I believe Gary's got at least the dates of the semifinals and the finals and the quarterfinals on the girls athletic union site. So both of us with a little bit of change regarding the postseason is concerned, and then next year, like I said, the excitement with the Dragonfly and with your registration, and the girls postseason tournament will be a week later next year. So excited for them for that part of being able to start a week later and end a week later like they've have in the past anyway. So like I said, I just want to thank you all. Like I said, I think at our max year we were at 72 individuals that took time to give us an hour, and like I said, that's kind of what we planned on, around an hour time for you. So we appreciate that. Another question: Coach receives a red card with a JV match following. Once they sit out that match, or is it the next date? They do have to sit out the remainder of that date. So if there's a JV game, if there's a varsity match that goes first on tomorrow night, if there's a varsity match and a coach gets ejected from that varsity, gets a red card for that varsity match, he does not get to stick around for that JV match that follows that varsity match. So he is to leave the area and not come back. That's from the boys' standpoint. I'll let Gary answer for the girls, but from the boys' standpoint, he has to leave and is not able to come back. And then he misses the next date for that JV contest. And again, that's the whole date. So again, if it's the JV game first and then the varsity afterwards, he misses that entire date. So, but
Same for the girls.
yeah. So just so that you are clear on that regarding things that happen on the same date.
So that would also include a classic. If they have 2 games in that day is the first day. So it doesn't matter JV varsity. It's the rest of that whole day, no matter who is competing.
And again, and officials, that's not really your responsibility, to know that, to know if a young man or a young woman got ejected from the first game of a classic. I understand maybe you want to, but it's not for you to, if that young man plays in that second game and he's not supposed to, as an officials, even if the coach is screaming at you that he should not be playing that game, that's not your call to stop it from happening. We'll take care of it with that school after the fact. If that young man plays in any of that game and he's not supposed to, I'm sure somebody will let me know that he wasn't supposed to play, and then we will take the appropriate measures. So we're not, it's not, you've got other things to worry about regarding officiating the game than who's eligible and who's not eligible to be playing in that contest. So, but again, thank you so much for taking the time with us. Yeah, Jim. And
yeah, I have one other item, which just wanted to update everybody on the girls' side. We have had 65 ties to date from the beginning of the season. I can't speak for the boys' side because I haven't tracked that yet, but I will. But to show you that with ties, yes, they are being played to a tie. We've had 65. So when we get to postseason, we no longer have ties. We go back to the overtime and kick from the mark, depending upon whether or not we have golden goal.
Yep. And also both the boys and the girls,
But
you
yeah,
know,
it's
on that,
65
in the
guys or
that
65
postseason
teams,
manual,
it's,
we've talked to you about the delay situations, and I think, Gary, you've got it in yours,
right.
that season manual, but we do too, regarding giving you some guidance, officials, for how long, if we have a weather delay during the postseason, we do not have an adoption of both the boys and the girls. We follow Rule 713 that says that if we get to halftime of a contest and a winner can be determined and we cannot restart that game, that match is over. And I know, we had a situation last year, and I know Gary had a couple of them too. We had a situation to where the home team was behind and they were willing to wait till 2:00 in the morning to see if they could restart that contest. And the visiting team had a 2-hour drive back home with semester tests the next day. And so there was a, how long do we have to wait? So we stole a little bit of rule guidance from the NCAA regarding restart times. So again, Jim and Gary and Michael and I will, when we get to the
Right.
postseason, we will remind you of that. But there is a guidance for you for how long you wait for that restart, which is approximately 3 hours after the initial kickoff, not when it was supposed to start, but when it did actually start. And if we can't start it after 3 hours and we can determine a winner, then that match is official. So, but just remember that, then that'll help you out as officials, not have to be the middleman and have two coaches looking at you regarding, all right, how long do we wait here? So it gets you to the officiating part and not have to do the administrative part, which I know you feel awkward with, but that's up to the home administration and the two organizations to make those decisions for you, so you're not having to make those yourself. So hopefully that gets you out of a sticky situation. So, but again, thank you. Like I said, we will. This meeting
Thank
is
you.
being recorded. We will, once we get the link for it back from Zoom here, we'll hopefully get this on both of our websites tomorrow, so that you can go back and review some of the videos and some of the things that had here, and just to read a little bit with Michael, with some of these videos. These videos were not meant in any way, shape, or form to embarrass our officials, to point any of our officials out. As Michael said, a lot of them, the officials, were the ones that sent the videos to him or to us wanting guidance. So please, if you happen to be one of those officials, we were not trying to in any way, shape, or form point you out or say, oh, I guess he's not getting a postseason contest. That's not what this was about. These are educational videos to help everybody out with that. So please, don't go away. You're going, well, geez, they pointed that one out with me. That's not what our intent was here as officials, to do that. So again, it's to educate you. We appreciate that you want to learn more and to be better and to be the best out there. So thank you for that. So Michael, Jim, I'll let you sum it up here and send them all off. But thank you all
right.
for being
Thank
here
you,
on a
sir.
Wednesday night. So
Thank you, guys. I don't really have a ton to say besides email is probably the best during the season. Texts are fine. Clips are wonderful. That goes from both coaches and referees. Have a wonderful season. Continue to
Yep.
stay safe. Continue to be healthy.
good night. Have a great
Thank you
night.
for your
Thank you.
time. Thank you for taking the opportunity to watch what we had. So have a good night.